281. After defeating the scorpions, conquer the phoenix tree. The large white worm's low combat power made sense when Robin realized she was the Scorpion Queen. Her role was reproduction. Most of her energy was being siphoned off to the dozens of small scorpions. Worse, the eggs clustered like a bunch of grapes didn't follow the usual rule that only one human scorpion would hatch from tens of thousands of eggs. If he didn't kill the queen before the green orbs hatched, things would get ugly. Robin summoned his longsword as he landed and activated serpentine movement, weaving past the white silk she spat and circling toward her tail. He leapt up, blade aimed at a pulsing spot. Pfft. The conical tail detached with a foul stench and a spray of milky fluid. But almost immediately, a new tail was sprouting. If it weren't for the bucket-shaped chunk of flesh and the countless sticky blotches on the ice, Robin might have thought the severing had been an illusion. He struck again. Each time the old tail fell, a new one grew. He needed to suppress her regeneration. Thinking fast, Robin muttered a spell, summoned a dark wraith, and ordered it to greedily suck blood from the queen's wound. Then he raised his longsword and severed the tail again. The dark wraith floated to the wound, heedless of the stench, and began to drain blood and energy. The queen had another trick. When injured, she redirected her internal blood and energy to the wound, accelerating healing. Under the wraith's suction, her reserves were rapidly depleted. She writhed, trying to shake the thing off. When she couldn't, she arched her body, launched 6 or 7 meters into the air, tripled in size, and slammed down toward Robin. The fine hairs on her abdomen stiffened into needles and extended outward. Robin activated Indestructible, planted his feet, and drove his sword deep into the queen's belly, pushing forward with all his force. As he slid, he caught sight of a thigh-thick blue vein inside her, and a bulge moving within it. Gurgle, gurgle, the bulge slid toward the tail. Robin twisted and moved toward the tail as quickly as he could. When his upper body emerged from the wound at the queen's tail, he saw the bulge detach and fly to the bottom of the egg cluster. A dark, curved hook unfurled and began to pierce the green membranes, stretching them pale. Eggs were hatching. He had to hurry. Robin ducked back under the queen's body, crawled along the slit he'd made to the blue vein, drew his dagger, and cut it. The worm wailed in pain, arched, and bounced again. Robin crashed to the ice, his back burning. The queen smashed down beside him, shrunk back to normal size, and scuttled angrily toward him, snapping her mouthparts. The egg cluster trembled as if answering her call. Watching those scissoring mouthparts, Robin recalled warnings from the young Agon and what had happened to DC Na when her tongue was blistered, that a mouth could be a critical weak point. The image of Sir Cadogan slaying a dragon flashed in his mind, and an idea hit him. Robin pulled a cloth bag of apple-sized water flasks from his Sea of Consciousness space, activated Precise Throw, and hurled them all into the queen's gaping mouthparts. Burp. Despite her resistance, about a third of the liquid went down her throat. The queen's belch smelled strongly of alcohol. She writhed again and lunged at Robin. He cupped his hand, condensed a ball of flame, and hurled it. Bang! The alcohol vapor inside the queen ignited instantly, and she exploded from within. A pestle-like object and chunks of fat were blown outward from the blast. Robin wanted to rush forward to grab the pestle, but the green eggs began to fall and crack, interrupting him. When the egg membrane split, the shadows inside were revealed. Red-black, limp bodies spilled out. One side of each skull bulged and the other was sunken, arms and claws twisted like tentacles. They looked like malformed hermit crabs with human heads, premature births. Whether their carapaces would harden and their hooks would bury a meter into the ice in an hour was uncertain, so Robin had to finish them quickly. He activated Spore Blast, poured the insecticide Hagrid had given him into the spore sack, flapped his wings to the top of the cavern, and dropped spore bombs into the pit. Bang! The spiced spore sparks spread fast. The little scorpions inhaled the poisonous mist and either fainted, foamed at the mouth, or in the worst cases, met their ancestors. Robin summoned his longsword, cloaked the blade in blue fire, and severed the stem holding the cluster of eggs. Snap! The egg cluster tumbled onto a mound of human scorpion corpses. At the same time, the leaves of the Phoenix Divine tree rustled. Between the leaves, orange-yellow buds burst forth, blooming before his eyes. In an instant, the tree transformed. Its red leaves gained a fiery halo. The yellow stamens released a faint, refreshing scent. The aroma dulled pain. Robin felt the totem beneath his left collarbone ease. After tossing a few more spiced spore bombs, he silently chanted a spell and drew the Phoenix Divine Tree into the giant magic cube. Then his consciousness dove into his sea of consciousness. In the cube, he found the fiery red tree standing in a lush valley on the red side. Beside it grew a twin-flower crabapple with two blossoms, one pure white, the other bright red. By a stream, the young Agan was tugging at radish-headed Ashui, both running freely. Pheasants, wild rabbits, squirrels, and ferrets foraged happily across the meadow, catching small scorpions to eat. It was easy to guess the white and red crabapple flowers symbolized adult Agan and Ashui, and the small scorpions were the villagers of Angel Village. This ending suited everyone better. Robin tapped the totem beneath the red square, then looked up at the floating status screen. Name, none species, Phoenix Divine Tree level, SS rank, personality, generous, tolerant, kind, caring. Physical state, weak, magic power depleted by 70%. Treatment cycle, 3 months. Skills, fearless flame, allows the host engulfed in flames to feel as if they are in open air. Self-repair, external bleeding wounds heal automatically. Drive creatures, can drive pure-hearted small animals within visible range. Magic power, 20,000. Combat power, 4,000. 282, the fantasy of the past. Returning to the orphanage. Self-healing? Not bad. It would be even better if it could heal others. Robin waved his hand, letting the red square float back into place. Then his consciousness withdrew from the sea of consciousness and returned to the ice cave. He opened his eyes to find a sparkling treasure chest hovering where the phoenix tree had been. Above it, a line of green glowing text read, "Adventurer, congratulations on passing 3 challenges in a row. You have shown extraordinary courage, outstanding wisdom, and clear values. Pass one more challenge, and you may claim the treasure. Adventurer, open the chest. The final challenge has been waiting for you a long time. Hint, the key to passing is to catch me with your own hands." After a moment's thought, Robin floated to the chest and reached to lift the lid. A powerful suction burst from the darkness inside, pulling him into a black void. When he opened his eyes again, the scene had completely changed. He stood in a dim alley. 2 meters away, 3 feral dogs with fierce eyes and bared teeth were surrounding a scruffy little white dog. A tall, thin black dog with 2 white spots above its brows lunged. The little white dog crouched, snapped up, and bit at the black dog's groin. The black dog howled and rolled over, unable to rise. Another animal, half bull terrier, half Shiba Inu, charged low to the ground. The little white dog vaulted over it, darted beneath a large yellow dog, and bit a vital spot. The yellow dog yelped and collapsed. The remaining creature bore its yellow teeth and rushed at Robin's arm. A blow landed on the attacker's head, warm blood spattered, and the animal swayed twice before thudding to the ground, lifeless. Robin realized he was clutching something heavy and bloody. He dropped it and cried out, "Little Scruffy?" The little white dog cocked its head, looked at him for a moment, then tugged at his pant leg and tried to pull him out of the alley toward the street on the right, the way to the town police station. Robin crouched, scooped the dog up, and said, "No need to go to the police station. I remember the way back to the orphanage." They wound through the town and then up a sloping mountainside path toward the orphanage, which sat halfway up the hill. It was late summer, slipping into autumn. The slopes were heavy with ripe wild fruit. Robin plucked a few as he climbed. Halfway up, he heard a whimpering from a pile of corn stalks. Lifting a battered plastic sheet, he found a small local mongrel curled inside. Its fur pattern made it look as if it had 4 eyes, and the tip of its tail bent off awkwardly to the left. When the little dog saw Robin, it rolled onto its belly with its tongue out in a display of friendship. Little Scruffy growled. "Don't bark," Robin chided gently. "Be nice. This is your mate. Someday your pups will run all over Puyang City." He lifted the small dog and kept walking, occasionally scolding the pair to mind their manners. 30 minutes later, they reached a silver-painted iron fence. A plaque at the gate read, "Puyang Orphanage." Robin pushed the gate open, ignored the children who rushed up to greet him, and went straight to the kitchen. The kitchen was thick with heat. Director Lee, A kind-faced man with a damp towel over his shoulders squatted on a low stool feeding the stove. When he saw the two dogs in Robin's arms, he teased, "Abin, no matter how hungry you are, you shouldn't be hurting animals." "Director, you've got the wrong idea. They're excellent guard dogs, and they're a male and a female. Soon they'll be puppies for everyone." "You and that silver tongue of yours. Who taught you that? Go wash your hands. I saved you some pancakes and scrambled eggs with pickled vegetables in the small pot." It had been years since he'd tasted the old director's pancakes and pickled vegetable eggs. Robin set the dogs down, washed his hands, and lifted the lid. A bite of pancake and a mouthful of egg brought back more than flavor. It brought memory. "Abin, eat slowly," Director Lee warned. "No one's going to snatch it. Save room. There's hot steamed buns in the big pot. Aunt Lin says tonight's braised pork." Lin Xiaoliu, beautiful, efficient, and quick with words, was fondly referred to as one of the three beauties. A voice heavy with exertion called from the kitchen doorway, "Abin, move over. Auntie needs space to bring in the pig." Robin stepped aside. Aunt Lin, tall and handsome-featured, strode in carrying half a pig on her shoulder. Half a pig landed on the stainless steel counter with a thud. "This half pig was specially saved for the orphanage by Oldle," she announced. "It's a good-looking one. The tenderloin will be minced for wontons, the ribs for soup, the trotters, neck and head for braising, the fat rendered into lard, and the rest will be used for braised pork," Director Lee said appreciatively. "Xiao Lin, you sure know how to eat." Aunt Lin laughed. "What else can I do?" she replied with a smile. "Abin, the kitchen's greasy. Go play in the yard." Robin hesitated. He didn't feel much like playing with the kids today. "No, I should stay. I need to bathe little Scruffy and that mongrel." "Little Scruffy and little Yellow?" Aunt Lin asked, puzzled. Robin only nodded and pointed toward the two puppies curled in a stack of firewood. Aunt Lin chuckled. "Kids love fluffy animals. Wash them then. Don't keep Director Lee and me from cooking." They divided the work. Robin would bathe the dogs, Director Lai would tend the stove, and Aunt Lin began chopping and preparing the braised pork. As dusk settled, the delicious aroma drifted out, and a cluster of children pressed their faces to the kitchen window. "Abin, the braised pork's ready. Let them in," Aunt Lin called. Robin opened the door, and the children swarmed into the kitchen, noisy and impatient. He set down two stainless steel basins and called out, "Wash your hands first. After that, line up by height, shortest in front, tallest at the back." To them, he was a big brother figure. Whether rowdy or shy, they obeyed and washed up, then lined up in order. The steamed buns Director Lee had made were pillowy and wheaten. Aunt Lin's braised pork was savory and fragrant, each bite leaving a pleasant aftertaste. Robin ate slowly, savoring every mouthful. After the meal, Director Lee found some old cloth and, with a few skillful stitches, sewed a small bed for little Scruffy and the mongrel. The two dogs curled together and fell asleep, warm and content. The sight filled the kitchen with a quiet, heartwarming peace. 283. Last words, kill Matt Boy. Late at night, cold moonlight slanted through the dormitory window. Robin, lying on a single bed, suddenly opened his eyes. He could remember everything from before, but remembering didn't mean he was willing to stay trapped in someone's illusion forever. He got up, put on his shoes quietly, slipped out the window, and began comparing the current phantasmal orphanage to the one he remembered, scanning for anything extra. In the southwest corner he found it, a towering tree that shouldn't have been there. "Got you," he whispered with sudden confidence. The tree's shadow dimmed and vanished. The surrounding scene blurred and rewound like a fast-forwarded tape. Slowly, it fixed into a winter landscape. Robin's shorts and t-shirt turned into thick padded clothes, and his hands felt small and slender. "Brother Binbin, Aunt Lin sent me to find you. She says Dean Lee has a dying wish to tell you." "Brother Bin, what's a dying wish?" asked a small child with a round face, almond eyes, and rosy cheeks, cuter than any New Year's painting. It was Akan, the child who'd been sent to the orphanage from the city dump back when Robin was in junior high. At first, everyone wondered how anyone could abandon such a beautiful baby, and a boy at that, until they learned Akan had Kabuki syndrome. His features were unusually striking, but his intellectual and physical development lagged. He was pitiful and fortunate at once. Aunt Lin treated him like her own, discovered his talent for painting, and helped him become a well-known artist in Puyang. Brother Bin, Akan chirped. Robin scooped him up and ran to the top floor of the staff quarters. Dean Lee's room was spare. A bookcase, a small table and chairs, and a single bed. There she lay, sallow, too thin. In his memory, Dean Lee had slipped away quietly in her sleep. Now the illusion presented the familiar tableau of a deathbed scene. Aunt Lynn wiping tears, staff hovering anxiously, an illusion born of Dean's wish to say more before she went. Bin, hurry, come, she's holding on just for you, Aunt Lynn urged, tears streaking her face. Robin went to the bed and took Dean Lee's hand. The others drifted out to give them privacy. Cough, cough, Dean Lee rasped. Bin, I don't want you to be rich or famous. I only want you safe and happy. After I'm gone, if you ever think of me, bring Veronica to the cemetery, she said. Veronica? I love Veronica. It doesn't fuss about soil, it's pretty, and in famine you can even eat it, Dean Lee added, smiling faintly. Aunt Lynn will take care of the orphanage, someone murmured. The children will never forget what the orphanage did for them. What kindness! Raising children is the orphanage's duty, came a retort, bitter and practical. Pull out the leftmost drawer of the desk, Dean Lee said suddenly. There's a blue tin box in there with information about your parents. I had someone search for a long time. Bin, if you want to look for them, wait until you're an adult, she warned weakly. Robin shook his head. I'm an adult now. I have friends. Do I still need them? Dean Lee's mouth curled into a small, bitter smile. When a bird can fly, why would it still pine for a nest? Bin, I want to hear a song. Robin patted his pocket and found something hard, a shiny harmonica. He remembered now. Back in his first year of high school, he'd learned a few tunes from a street performer to impress girls. He hadn't practiced in ages and wasn't sure he still could. He put the harmonica to his lips and blew. The first notes came out flat and awkward, more like unfortunate puffing than music. Dean Lee laughed anyway, delighted. Embarrassed, Robin tried again and coaxed out a slow, melodic tune that seemed to hang in the air like a painting. When the song ended, Dean Lee lay peaceful. Her breathing stopped. Robin checked for breath. There was none. Even knowing this was an illusion, the sight of her stillness pulled at him, and tears came without permission. He smoothed her hair, then reached instinctively for her earring. Dean Lee had been frugal. He couldn't imagine her wearing diamonds. Yet there, caught in the light, hung a Christmas tree-shaped earring. As his fingers neared it, the earring dimmed and vanished. The scene blurred again and refocused into a bright midsummer day, cicadas shrilling. He was looking into an art room. He was wearing a paint-splattered t-shirt and shorts. After Dean Lee died, Aunt Lynn had turned her bedroom into a children's art room in accordance with that last wish. Robin had volunteered to help. He'd supervised the kids and cleaned up. But what year was this now? A pebble tapped the window. A kid with a seaweed green haircut, Ah Chiang, Robin's little follower from third-year high school, waved at him from outside. Brother Bin, come out. I need to tell you something urgent. Robin stepped out of the art room. What's so urgent? A girl's waiting. Li Jingya's out in the yard. She says she's bringing your acceptance letter, but I think she's got other plans. You should take her to a nice meal and catch a romantic movie, Ah Chiang advised with a leering grin. And make sure you bring your certificate. Robin rolled his eyes. You're learning all the wrong things. Dye your hair back, study hard, don't give Aunt Lynn a headache. He wandered slowly into the yard. Under the willow stood Li Jingya, lightly made up, her hair in a princess braid, wearing a yellow floral dress. Youthful and pretty, she frowned when she saw Robin in his scruffy state. Why are you dressed like that? She asked. Robin ignored the question, snatched the paper parcel from her, and ripped it open. Inside were the acceptance letter, the school brochure, even a bank card, everything as it had been that year. Thanks, I've got things to do, he said, turning to leave. Li Jingya stepped forward, spreading her arms to block him. Robin, I want to talk to you. His dark eyes flashed cold. Confession? Sorry, you're not my type. Need to borrow money? I don't have any. Want to steal an admission slot? The orphanage is my turf. I can shout and summon a bunch of little thugs. Just so you know, each of them has a row of fluorescent paintbrushes. Hey, got you! Li Jingya gave a sheepish smile. Ooh, suspicious much? I just wanted to ask if you're coming to the class reunion Saturday. No, Robin smirked, looped an arm around her, and, while she was still stunned, leaned in until he could see the fine arch of her brow. After watching her lashes flutter with embarrassment, he whispered into her ear, "Your boyfriend, Yang Zhao, just bought a new telescope, right? From the hospital exit here, it's 1 minute if you're quick, 5 if you're slow. Think carefully about how you'll explain this to him." "You set me up?" Li Jingya ground her teeth. "Yes, and what are you going to do about it?" She spun and ran, shouting as she fled, "Yang Zhao, listen to me. It's not what you think." Robin watched her go, eyebrow raised. He remembered the summer before their senior year when Li Jingya had used the pretext of delivering an admissions notice to start a conversation about giving up an enrollment spot. Robin liked beautiful women, but he wasn't blind. He'd called out a few times, had summoned help, and that worthless Yang Zhao had abandoned Li Jingya and bolted. The girl had been humiliated and had broken up with him that night. Rumor had it that later, in college, she used her looks to attach herself to an influential older man who boosted her into some internet fame. In Robin's mind, if that relationship hadn't ended when it did, Li Jingya would likely have been exploited for much longer. He hummed to himself as he headed for the art room. Halfway there, a rustling drew his attention. He followed the sound past a stand of willows and found 3 kids with foxtail grass poking it into little holes in the ground to fish for pineapple worms. One of the grasses was a strange purplish color, as if mutated. They'd tried all sorts of holes, 7 or 8 each, and come up empty, grumbling in frustration. Robin stooped, tore off a bit of foxtail, and said, "I'll show you. Those little worms in the holes aren't afraid of sound. They're afraid of light and vibrations. Before you poke, cover the hole with your hand to block the sunlight. When the worm gets used to the shadow, then insert the grass." He demonstrated slowly. "Insert it gently. If you feel resistance, there's a worm. If not, there isn't." The 3 kids stared. Robin pulled the grass out with a mischievous smile. "There's nothing in this one." They dropped their heads and pouted. "Don't be discouraged. If there's nothing in this one, try the next." He slipped the grass into a pinhole-sized gap shaded by his hand. When the tip met resistance, a smile tugged at his mouth. He pressed the stem down, twisted it, counted silently to 10, and then drew it out. Clinging to the tip was a tiny shelled black worm no larger than a sesame seed. "Wow, that's amazing. Give it to me." "Why would I? It's my birthday today, so it's mine." "Shame on you. You used that birthday excuse last Saturday when you stole half my braised pork." Robin hugged the stalk to his chest and laughed. "Stop arguing. Whoever grabs it first gets it." The kids lunged. The impact knocked him off balance, and his right palm coincidentally landed on a foxtail grass. He grabbed the stem and yelled, "Your turn." Then the foxtail in his hand flared blue and glowed. The cicadas cut off mid-chorus, the willow leaves stilled, and the 3 children froze. Colors drained from the world like paint being sucked away. Everything faded to black and white, then scattered into dust. The next instant, Robin was no longer in the schoolyard. He stood inside an enormous vertical ice cave. Countless stones, each suffused with a milky white glow, floated in midair. The glittering treasure chest at the cave's center transformed into a screen of light with a message hovering on it. "Adventurer, congratulations on clearing all levels. You may take everything here. Reminder, touching the stone pestle at the bottom of the cave will return you to your original space." So the stone pestle was the portkey to another world, Hogwarts. Robin's pulse quickened. He activated his magic scan. Little icons showing nurturing values, 2,000, 3,500, 4,000, 5,000, blinked on the stones. He mouthed the command, "Collect all," and with a sweep gathered the white stones into the central axis of his magic cube. Nurturing value plus 2,000, 3,000, 2,500, 4,000, plus 5,000. His consciousness slid into his sea of consciousness space, and he summoned the magical creature Nurturing Magic Cube Parchment. A red LV10 marker glowed on it. LV10, the maximum level for the magic cube. His previous progress read LV7, 3,569, 500,000. Now it had leapt to LV10, 1,500,000, 1,500,000. 4 new functions had unlocked. 1. Item teleportation. External items can be cast into the magic cube grids. Items in the grids can be released into the real world. 2. Innate talent. Creatures contained in the magic cube will select one innate talent and have its power increased tenfold. 3. Trial simulation. Simulates a wild environment to train and enhance magic, combat power, and experience for creatures inside the cube. Note, 20% of gains will be fed back to the host. 4. Space appreciation. For every 500,000 nurturing value added, gain one additional grid. Each ability by itself was a game changer. Robin tucked the parchment away and inspected the cube. Mora the acromantula was battling a swarm of termites. The dark wraith was sparring with a vampire. Molly the unicorn tended a mentally wounded little creature. Norbert the black dragon breathed fire at a red dragon, while Xiao Bai, the white dragon, toyed with a band of knights. A basilisk was tangled with a phoenix. He rolled through the cube's grids, tapping each to view details. Most of the creatures had risen 1 or 2 levels. Grids floated back into place. Satisfied, Robin withdrew his consciousness, spread his wings, landed at the bottom of the cave, and picked up the stone pestle. A wave of vertigo swept his mind. The cave blurred and then vanished. Moments later, the dizziness eased and he found himself in an unknown, hazy, mist-filled space. A black dot in the distance swelled and hurtled toward him, bringing to mind Trelawney's first divination class warning last year: "Flee if you ever see a black dot." Robin spun and ran the other way. He tried to summon his invisible wings, but his shoulder blades were numb and unresponsive. He strained to cast fireballs behind him until the veins in his forearms stood out, but his palms stayed empty. He attempted to trigger the feathered spirit insect's indestructible skill, nothing. In this strange space, his Rubik's Cube talents were useless. The black dot closed in with terrifying speed. In moments, it enveloped him, plunging everything into absolute darkness. Loneliness, disorientation, anxiety, tension, panic pressed on his chest like a stack of heavy stones. He doubled over, gasping, heart hammering in his throat. No, he'd already acquired the treasure. He wasn't going to die here. Robin forced himself to take slow, deep breaths until his pulse steadied. Then, faintly in the dark, he thought he heard clanking. He listened closely. At first, nothing. Then the sound returned, accompanied by a sharper metallic tinkle, like something hard striking the floor. Hooves. He remembered the galloping gray horse he'd seen in the crystal ball during the divination exam. The clattering must be the rider, armor rattling. An image rose unbidden in his mind. A stout, middle-aged man in armor, sword at his side. "Cadogan, are you there?" No answer at first. The clanking slowed as if the rider hesitated. Robin pressed on. "Sir Cadogan, I would like to ask a favor." Silence, then a brief pause. Then the clanking resumed, and a pinprick of light winked in the blackness. It moved steadily toward him. In a few strides, Sir Cadogan rode up, sword at his waist, reins in his left hand, and in his right a crystal cup holding a small burning candle. "Lost knight, are you dead?" Cadogan demanded, alarm and a little scorn in his voice. Robin grimaced inwardly. Only Cadogan would greet someone by suggesting they were dead. "Not dead. Quite fine, actually." "If you're not dead, how did you get into the painting?" Cadogan's face said he didn't believe him. Between Robin's recollection of the paintings and Cadogan's question, the truth settled in. He was inside the world of the paintings. "I stumbled in," Robin admitted. "Cadogan, can you get me out of the painting world?" "You great fool," Cadogan replied bluntly. "I can't get out myself. How could I get you out?" Trelawney had taught that if you were trapped in the black prison, finding water was a path out. But here, everything was black. Then Robin noticed the candlelight. "May I borrow your candle for a moment?" Cadogan lifted his chin with theatrical pride. "You should say please." "Sir Cadogan, please lend me your candle for a moment." "All right, then." Cadogan handed him the crystal cup. Robin set the cup on the ground and watched the candlelight spill out in a halo. Within it, a thin white line radiated from the center. He rotated the cup. The line didn't change position. He touched the dark floor. There was no difference under his fingers. Curious, he kept the cup in hand. "Sir Cadogan, could you carry me?" Robin asked. "No problem. My little mount is quite obedient here." Robin hoisted himself onto the horse behind Cadogan. He pointed in a direction. "This way, please." "Excellent, knight. Let us begin our journey," Cadogan cried, and urged the horse onward. Hooves hit the ground in steady rhythm, the small white light trailing behind them. As they ran, the light stretched forward with them, until after about 1,000 meters, it stopped. Robin asked Cadogan to halt. He jumped down, set the crystal cup where the light had ended, and studied the candle's halo. The white line had shifted its angle, turned. He realized the line marked a path. "Go that way," he told Cadogan, pointing where the line now pointed. They rode again, 1,000 meters, the light extending, then stopping. Each time Robin dismounted, he placed the cup at the limit of the light, watched the lines change, and chose the next direction. Gallop, stop, study, turn, repeat. Over and over, more than 10 times. Slowly in the dark, a vast glowing shape took form, a streaked fingerprint-like pattern suspended in space. It rose, rotated, and then crashed down with a resonant thud. The lines folded inward and reassembled into a luminous arch. "Sir Cadogan, take me to that door," Robin said. "Hold fast, my knight!" Cadogan urged, and the gray horse charged. They arrived at the arch. Dismounting, Robin and Cadogan peered through the halo. Beyond the doorway was a long corridor, shadowed but somehow real. The gray horse whinnied and strained toward the opening, but Cadogan steadied the reins. "Aren't you going to look outside?" Robin asked. Cadogan shook his head. "I am an adventurer," he said. "Every painting is an adventure to me. Once I leave the world inside a painting, it becomes awkward to go wandering about Hogwarts itself." He sounded oddly amused by the thought. Then, without further explanation, he mounted, kicked the horse, and the pair vanished back into the darkness from which they had come. The clanking and clattering faded until only silence remained. Robin stood before the glowing doorway, his heart thumping with a mixture of dread and excitement. Whatever lay beyond, he felt ready. With friends, with the Rubik's Cube and Nagini at his side, and the knowledge that surprises often hid behind frights, he stepped forward, prepared to face whatever Dumbledore had prepared next.